it's hard to imagine walking away from the only world you've ever known, from the beliefs that shaped your childhood, your marriage, your identity. But what happens when one woman decides it's time to let it all go? Christine Brown didn't leave a marriage, she left a system of obedience, silence, and sacrifice. And for those of us who have been following her for years on Sister Wives, this new chapter in her life isn't so much about freedom, it's about finally telling the truth. Now you might think you know it. We all watch the show. The smiles, the struggles, the tastefully edited moments. But what Christine is beginning to tell you on her terms, in her own voice, is something far different. Something raw. Something true. It's not about Kody. It's not about all the drama with the other wives or who redecorated what house. It's about a woman brought up to be accommodating, to never complain, to never question. Waking up to realize she doesn't believe in the life she's been instructed to live. And for anyone who's ever been a part of something that seemed okay on the surface, yet quietly eroded who you were on the inside, you'll get this story. What does it cost to stand up against generations of tradition? To risk being banished by your family, your community, perhaps even your faith? What happens when you finally say, no more? Christine's journey isn't polished. It's not wrapped up in a bow. And that's exactly why it matters. Because the truth doesn't always come out in loud, dramatic moments. It often unfolds in quiet choices, in courtroom filings, in the courage to speak when you've been told to stay silent. This isn't just a celebrity memoir. It's a reckoning. And today, we're going to explore how Christine Brown went from silent partner to powerful voice, from loyal wife to fierce mother who knew she deserved better. It's a journey many never make, but she did. Let's take a closer look. Hi, friends. So, Christine Brown's book is officially hitting stores on the 2nd of September, and let's just say, people are already buzzing. Some of you have been leaving comments, asking yourselves if she's actually going to spill the beans and give us the unfiltered truth. Or not. Well, according to a quote Christine just posted from the back of her book, to Instagram, of course, it seems like she's ready to speak. And not just on the surface. By the sound of it, Christine is unpacking decades of conditioning. She's starting to see that a lot of what she used to say on the show was based on indoctrination. She was taught to be likable, not to stir up trouble, and to prioritize other people's comfort over her own. Now here's something that a lot of folks don't know. Of the entire Brown family, Christine is the one most rooted in polygamy. Her family history is saturated in it on both sides. This isn't true for Mary or Robin. For instance, Robin's parents converted to polygamy directly from the mainstream LDS church, so she and her siblings were the very first generation to be raised in it. Mary's dad didn't adopt the lifestyle until she was about 5 years old, so neither of them came from generational polygamy. But Christine? Her lineage goes way back. It's in her blood. Her father, Rex, was the son of Rulon Allred, a former prophet who was killed. And on her mother's side, the ties are just as strong. Her mom, Annie, comes from the LeBaron family, a name that might ring some bells if you've followed stories about the fundamentalist groups in Mexico. Annie's father, Florin, was a brother to Joel and Irv LeBaron. When Florin left his wives, Annie's mother, Christine's grandmother, was later married, in a complicated twist, to Owen Allred, who was the brother of Rulon Allred. That means Christine's maternal grandmother essentially became her great-uncle's wife. Baffled? Don't worry, you won't be alone. But this is the lesson. Christine's involvement with polygamy is not superficial, it's fundamental. So when she finally decided to get out, It wasn't breaking up a lifestyle. It was disconnecting from centuries of identity, expectation, and belief. It's also interesting to mention that a lot of individuals from their specific church, the Apostolic United Brethren, started to leave as early as the 1980s and 90s, after the grimmer details began emerging. Christine's mother and a number of her aunts and uncles also left, but Christine did not. She remained there because that's what she had been instructed to do. That's what was expected of her in terms of her upbringing. So while Mary had a couple of years of normal life before entering plural marriage, and while her father's polygamist connections were somewhat tenuous, Christine's life was never outside the system. The Allred name, after all, is almost synonymous with polygamy itself. That's why her departure stings. It's not just personal, it's historic in a sense. You see, one of the most difficult things about Christine's life is this. That's why her departure stings. It's not just personal, it's historic in a sense. You see, one of the most difficult things about Christine's life is this. She didn't have any kind of framework outside of the world she was born into. The only people she knew who had actually left the faith were relatives, and even they were whispered about. As an extremely young child, children in these communities are instructed in something profoundly disturbing, that anyone who departs from the faith is evil, that they are bound for ruin. You're instructed that it's safer to steer clear of those outsiders altogether than risk being deflected yourself. It's not only frowned upon to be around them, it's regarded as unsafe. Christine, up until most of her life, clung to those beliefs. She was devoted to her religion, and that purposefully motivated her for many years. So, looking ahead to her new book, I don't believe it's going to be full of gossip or scandal about Kody and Robin. No, this appears to be something more substantial than that. What I'm looking for is a reflective, heart-wrenching unpacking of how Christine was able to see that the life she was living wasn't really hers. That just like Jill and Jinger Duggar in their own books, she started to separate what she was taught from what she really believed. And that's no small accomplishment. It's easy to declare, this doesn't feel right anymore. It's another matter to strip away the only framework you've ever had, particularly when that framework has been constructed to hold you in place with duty, fear, and guilt. So when Christine finally did say, I don't believe in this anymore, she knew what was at stake. Not only a marriage, not only a TV picture, but relationships with her own family and community. People she's known since childhood now view her as an apostate, a faith traitor. She's spoken herself that some of her own family members won't even talk to her anymore. They turn their backs. But others have surprised her, greeting her with open arms, showing understanding and warmth. That's the sad part. Although she's been courageous enough to leave, Christine's still on a very rough road. In her church, it's against the rules to have anything to do with someone who's defected, an apostate. So to write this book, to speak her truth aloud, is a bold and dangerous thing. She's embracing that tag completely now, and that's going to incite backlash. I've witnessed it with others. Another woman who's in this channel community, Ellen, also exited the same church. And trust me, the responses she's gotten have been shocking. Not only from the people who remain in the religion, but even from former members themselves. Because quitting doesn't necessarily mean that life gets easier. It's complicated, it hurts, and it sure as hell doesn't take place overnight. Christine's path can appear perfect on TV, smiles, courage, hope. But behind the scenes, I wouldn't be shocked if it's been tears, fights, sorrow, and frustration. Anger at what was done to her, sadness at what was taken away, and fear at what's to come. And that's why this memoir is important. It won't simply report what the cameras recorded. It's going to show us the price of leaving, the cost of liberty. There are other books available that explore the truth about life in polygamy, but Christine's account will be intimate. And for many individuals, particularly those who have lived under comparable convictions, it may just be a lifeline. Christine Brown is not the first one from her family to open up. Her aunt, Kristen Decker, had already penned a gripping book about exiting the same community. And recently, Kristen's brother Jay, Christine's uncle, published a memoir from a man's point of view, which opens up the entire discussion in an entirely new way. Jay's book is especially informative. He talks about the emotional toll it takes on men who grow up in that world, especially the ones who don't have that built-in narcissism the system often rewards. Imagine being told your whole life you're supposed to act like this dominant, all-knowing leader, and it just doesn't feel natural to you. That pressure, it can break a person. Jay dives into that struggle, especially how the structure encourages men to avoid accountability altogether. And when a man starts to see through it all, the emotional fallout is real. Now, in regards to Christine's memoir, I need to be honest with you. It may not live up to everyone's expectations. That's something we have to prepare for. Fans tend to think that reality TV personalities should tell us everything, bare all, and give us the inside dirt. But here's the reality. We don't deserve to know everything. Christine is still a human being, and this is her story. What she's doing, sharing her story, is already positioning her as an apostate, a term that carries significant cost where she comes from. But it also allows her the opportunity to be a light for others, particularly women who remain trapped in that same mentality she once held. And despite the advantages she did have, money, fame, the backing, she still had to take the plunge. And if her tale inspires one woman to do the same, then that is more powerful than any red top headline. I don't anticipate Christine saying the same thing I would. She's not me. But if she can acknowledge that what she went through wasn't acceptable and discuss that freely, that's plenty. Whether or not she'll discuss how she might have behaved toward others during the time that she was still within the faith remains to be seen. That's an area that some former members have mentioned, how those who formerly criticized them now attempt to reach out post-exit. It's a complicated one. And, as we know, healing takes time. And before we conclude, let's change gears into something a bit more, shall we say, Kody-ish. Kody Brown recently appeared in a cameo video, giving a young couple advice on how to purchase a home. Harmless enough, right? Buried, however, in his remarks about design and decor was the not-so-subtle rationalization for how he and Robin have managed finances all these years. Let's just say it raised a few eyebrows. For real, Kody Brown is the last one I'd ask for advice on marriage, real estate, or money matters. The guy has bounced from residence to residence for years. I don't believe he's remained in one dwelling long enough to make a significant impact on a mortgage. He's even had a couple of foreclosures. But now he's got a $2 million home to live in with Robin and a big mortgage to boot. And guess what? Their home is tastefully decorated, nicer than all the ones we saw on the show. That's no accident. Kody's new way of thinking appears to be that choosing furniture together fosters intimacy, that creating a house is some form of relationship therapy. He discusses it like a business deal, negotiating with a wife, compromising as if it's a contract, not a marriage. It's genuinely a bit creepy. There's something incredibly detached in the way he discusses love, like he's dealing with assets rather than feelings. And that says a lot about where his priorities have been. What actually struck me was how over-the-top Kody and Robin have been spending, particularly in relation to everybody else in the family. I mean, all I could think about were the heaps of high-end furniture, home accessories, and extras that they stocked their home with. And now, Kody is trying to spin that as intimacy building. To me, that just sounds like another justification, a means of spinning and portraying it as honorable. Personally, I don't think that shopping for furniture with my husband has ever bonded us. If anything, it gets a bit stressful. Fortunately, we most often find ourselves in agreement about what is aesthetically pleasing. But we're not really people who love to decorate. The thing is, decorating a house isn't some form of relationship magic. And in Kody's case, it seems more like an excuse for how much he and Robin have spent, and how much everyone else has lost in the process. Now, here's what I really hope Christine discusses in her book: child support. How much is Kody really paying her, and how much back child support may be due? That's a question a lot of people have been wondering about, and with good reason. But most significant is what Christine did when she requested both custody and child support. That action in itself spoke volumes about her. It indicated that she had indeed disconnected herself from the system under which she was brought up. Because in that world, women don't sue men. They're taught to stay far away from legal systems altogether. Conflicts are meant to be settled quietly, within the church, behind closed doors. So when Christine walked into that courtroom in September 2024, it was a bold, undeniable declaration. She was done being controlled. None of the other wives had ever done that. Christine did first. And by doing so, she became something so much greater than a reality TV star. She became a model of what it means to take back your voice. What do you think? Let me know what you think in the comments below. I'd love to hear how this resonates with you. And hey, if you liked this, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to click the bell so you never miss a new story. Take care, and I'll see you next time, bestie.